Are you sure?
I nodded, not wanting to waste any more time. I needed to get home, and I was tired of waiting. Diana stared before nodding and heading for the door, opening it for me and exiting after me. As she closed the door behind her, I began to feel my heart flutter in relieved joy. I was heading home. Diana led me down the corridors to the war room, where I had originally arrived, to reveal the table covered in plants and artifacts of different kinds. None of it made sense to me, but I had to only assume it was needed for the spell to work. Diana walked to the table and took note of what she saw, nodding.
This should work.
You're in doubt?
Have to be after the last time we tried sending her home. Do we have a human anchor?
No, you're on your own this time. But we'll make sure you survive casting it.
This spell should work, however, because we'll be using energy material. It will only require a slice of your energy on top of these items, which your guard can refill immediately after this.
Just make sure you don't die casting it.
Diana smiled at her guard before turning to me.
So, are you ready to return home?
She didn't have to ask. I'm ready. Diana nodded once more before turning back to the table. She lifted her arms over the surface and lowered her head, muttering under her breath.
O tenebris portas, apriat nobis, largiatur exidium, desiderium.
As she spoke, the table began to glow, as did she. A dark purple aura began to surround her form as she lifted and arched her head back, staring at the ceiling. A glimpse in her eyes made me gasp. Warm golden orbs covered her blood-red irises, glowing with magic. She was deep within the spell, and I could see it slowly draw energy from her body. The items on the table began to gleam wildly, light orbs floating from them and dancing in the air above the table's surface. They began to weave back and forth with each other, almost as if the lights were dancing to a silent tune. The other demon stepped back as Diana moved her arms up and pointed to the dancing lights. Her fingers pointed into the air, leading the lights to follow where it directed obediently. She drew a large circle in the air, and the lights followed like a perfect trail, spreading out and forming a large void in the air. As they finally stopped moving, they burst into a bright light, causing the demons and I to cover our eyes from it. It engulfed the room, but died down just as fast, revealing a small tear in the air. Diana quickly leaned forward and dug her hands into it before pulling the tear apart, revealing my bedroom. Diana continued to pull the tear open, giving enough space for me to jump through.
Hurry and go through! This is your chance!
I wasn't going to let it go to waste. I gripped the bottom of my dress and rushed forward, using momentum to jump into the air and forward into the tear. I could almost reach it. I could feel the air conditioning of my room right at my fingertips. I was...
She will never leave this world alive!
The Demon Lord's voice rang through the air just as I saw my fingertips pass through the tear. What stopped the rest of my body was a red light and force, forcing me and Diana back from the opening. Ah! I felt my body fly backwards and slam into the wall before I landed on the stone ground. I heard Diana as well land beside me with a painful thud. I looked up and felt my heart break as the tear became wrapped in red lightning, zipping itself closed and vanishing into thin air. No, this could not be.
Damn it!
That should have worked! How could it have failed?
We must have missed something. Was there anything we had forgotten?
No. I verified everything myself.
Then why was the Demon Lord able to overpower a gate spell?
I highly doubt you know either, brute.
Stop fighting! We need to make a plan and all of you are just being stupid! Stupid!
Are you alright, Isaiah?
I'm fine.
I was too lost in my mind to fully understand what was going on around me. I was so close. I felt the other side. I'd almost made it home. Why couldn't I go home? Diana's grunt of pain next to me made me shoot my head towards her, and I watched her slowly push herself off the ground and glare at the table.
The Demon Lord must have done something more than simply bring her here.
What could he have done?
Now, the Demon Lord is incapable of doing anything of the sort. His lackey imps must have done something to her.
A spell?
A curse.
I looked to the rabbit woman, seeing her stare wide-eyed at me. The other demons stared at me as well, and suddenly I felt like I was on display. Was something wrong with me?
She will not leave the demon world alive. He must have placed some sort of curse on her to prevent her from leaving this plane. In order to leave, she'd have to die.
What? My mind went blank. Did the Demon Lord really curse me? Was I forced to stay in this world until I died? I could never go back?
Are you suggesting a barrier curse?
That would explain the red energy that sealed the tear.
What dark magic like that requires?
The blood of 1,000 demons. He must have sacrificed part of his army to cast a curse on her that would prevent her from leaving.
That's a little drastic, just for one human.
The Demon Lord is that desperate for her.
The only way to break that kind of curse is to kill the caster, the Demon Lord himself.
She's trapped here until this war is over.
My body began to shiver violently. The Demon Lord killed 1,000 demons just to trap me here. Why? Why? I slammed my fist into the ground and began to scream. I want to go home! Why? I could feel the sympathy and anger in the room, but I didn't care. I was beyond livid. I was far past broken. I was seeing red. Ah! That's more my way of doing it. I don't do high-pitched. I'm sorry. Deal with it. As my voice ripped through the air, a bright light erupted through the room once again. Everyone covered their eyes, but Diana quickly scrambled to get on her knees and covered me with her body. She held me tightly as the light invaded the space and slowly began to fade. As the light finally died, everyone moved their hands to see what had happened. In the air was a white tear that was slowly opening, facing down towards the table. Something was coming. I could feel it in the air. The guard summoned his spear and pointed it at the tear, glaring at it and gritting his teeth.
Something's coming!
In reply, Diana summoned what looked like a saber and placed it in front of us.
Ready yourselves! It could be the Demon Lord!
The other demons in the room readied themselves and stared at the tear, either holding a weapon or preparing a spell. I felt the air change, becoming heavier as the tear began to grow. The energy around it began to pulsate, making everyone in the room that much more tense. I stared at the tear as well, frightened as to what was coming. Was it the Demon Lord? His minions? My mind began to circle through fearful ideas of what was about to appear. Okay, probably not what I was imagining. My heart almost stopped. Fallen from the tear and landing on the table were the 5 incubi brothers. They were piled on top of one another, having come through one at a time. However, as the last brother landed, the boys fell to one side, toppling off the table and landing on the floor. The rebels around me stared at the fallen pile of incubi, confused and surprised. As the tear in the air closed, the ogre man was the first to lower his sword.
What the hell?
Who are they?
Careful! They could be the Demon Lord's men!
No! The rebels looked to me as I stood up, Diana following and still protecting me, and I stared at the boys on the ground. They all looked dazed and a bit shell-shocked from having fallen twice in rapid succession. I almost couldn't believe it. There they were, right in front of me. My mind couldn't help but remember how I had first met them. They had all been on the floor of my mansion, unconscious and wounded. Now they were in front of me in the demon world. I know them. I stared at the one I was meant to marry, seeing him slowly shake his head and rise from the ground. They came to rescue me. He came to rescue me. My heart became overjoyed and full of warmth and happiness. I was going to go home. The question was, how? As the sight of the boys kept the demon's attention, a second tear opened above them, causing everyone to look up. 4 women dropped down from the tear and somehow managed to fall into the arms of the incubi behind Sam.
Whoa! Are you okay? I gotcha! It's okay!
Eric!
Love, I've got you!
James!
Whoa! Are you alright?
I stared wide-eyed. Their wives came too? I watched as the boys and the girls finally planted themselves on the ground before looking around. As Sam spotted me, however, his eyes widened in both surprise and anger. His gaze pinned itself to Diana, who simply stood protectively in front of me, and his eyes instantly became painted over in an almost harsh gold color.
You're fucking dead!
Oh my. Within a blink, Sam and Diana vanished and reappeared against the wall behind me. As I turned to see what was happening, I gasped at the sight. Sam was pinning Diana to the stone wall, crushing her neck and holding her high enough so that her feet were dangling above the floor.
I warned you, bitch! I will tear you to shreds!
Sam! Before I could move, however, the guard jabbed the blunt end of his spear into one of Sam's knees, causing Sam to release Diana and buckle to his knees.
You mangy dog!
The guard quickly twirled his spear around and thrust it forward to skewer Sam, but missed as Sam fell back and laid himself across the ground, glaring up at his attacker. Filled with an almost terrifying rage, the guard stepped forward and went for another stab at Sam. Fortunately, Sam pushed the weapon away from him and directed it to the side, causing the blade to clang against the ground. The guard quickly pulled back and thrust his spear forward again, but hit the floor again as Sam turned his body to the side. However, the guard wouldn't let Sam get up, as he quickly continued to pull back and thrust his spear forward at Sam over and over again, practically trapping him against the ground. I wanted to step in, but was too afraid of the blinding speed at which the guard was jamming his spear at Sam. I didn't want to provoke him to stab me in a blind adrenaline rush. I looked to Diana, seeing her coughing and holding her neck while gasping for air. Her hand was glowing a soft purple tint, as if she were healing her neck from Sam's attack. Everyone else, however, had backed up away from the fighting pair, not wanting to become collateral damage from either of their attacks. As Sam sat up, the guard retaliated with a lightning-fast response and kicked Sam back down, slamming the bottom of his foot into Sam's face to do so. However, before the guard could slam his spear down on his target, Sam rolled out of the way and got up on his hands in a spinning handstand. I had never seen him fight like this, even with mallets, but Sam was still undoubtedly trained in combat, even when he didn't have the upper hand. Sam flipped onto his feet and faced off against the guard in a martial arts defense stance before a sudden barrage of spear thrusts forced Sam to duck, lean, and dodge away from the guard. Unrelenting, the guard thrust his spear as fast as the machine gun's shots towards Sam, no longer looking to aim precisely, but hoping to land at least once. At one particular hand thrust, the guard leaned his body into the attack, but only managed to miss Sam by a mere centimeters as Sam tilted to the side and let the spear cross over his chest without making contact. I looked to Diana, hoping she would call off her guard, but she continued to stare at the floor, recuperating from Sam's attack. Oh, doesn't really matter, so don't get involved. I didn't want to get involved. Sam and the guard seemed very determined to beat each other. Who knew what would happen if someone stepped in? I held my breath, watching as Sam continued to duck and dodge the barrage of spear thrusts the guard threw at him.
Get out of my way!
Sam finally lunged forward, dodging the guard's spear before slamming his fist into the guard's chest and knocking him back.
Ah! Pesky mongrel!
The guard retaliated by swinging his spear around and swiping at Sam, making him jump back.
Enough!
Before the guard could follow through with another attack, a large snap echoed through the air, forcing everyone in the room, including me and Sam, to look over and see Diana glaring at her guard. Diana slowly stood up straight and pointed at the space beside her, ushering the guard to quickly run to it and turn back to face the rest of us. I used the opportunity to step in between Sam and Diana. Sam looked at me with eyes full of bloodlust, begging me silently to continue the fight. I glared back, trying to break through his rage to get him to calm down. He relented and gritted his teeth before nodding and looking to Diana and her guard.
I'll forgive you for now, brute.
Forgive me? What makes you think that the one who needs forgiving is me?
I didn't do anything!
Then why is she here then? Sam!
Sam and I turned to look at James, who was incredibly furious. By the look of it, the others were as well.
Look at her! Does she look like she's been hung in chains?
Sam looked to me as I met his gaze in almost perfect sync. I was indeed fine. Diana didn't hurt me. In fact, it had been the opposite. She wanted to protect me and send me home. The look in Sam's eyes, however, melted into one of longing and relief when he finally absorbed my appearance. It was like watching a beast instantly calm at the sight of its master. Without giving me a moment to breathe, he rushed over and wrapped me in his arms, burying his face into my shoulder. Sam!
I'm so happy you're safe.
My heart melted as I heard him whisper in my ear. I gripped him tightly, returning the close embrace and thankful that I could feel the love. My heart melted as I heard him whisper in my ear. I gripped him tightly, returning the close embrace, and thankful that I could feel the one I loved once again in my arms. Sam tightened his grip on me, nuzzling into my shoulder. I'ma kiss him. I gently moved my head and kissed over his cheek and neck, wanting to show him my affection and relieve that he was in my arms again. Sam shuddered slightly at the touch of my lips and planted his own loving kiss on my neck. I fought back a moan at the rush of pleasure I felt from his lips touching my skin, managing to hide it. At last, Sam and I slowly broke away from each other. Sam looked over to Diana with a softer expression, but nonetheless a serious one.
Why is she here?
Diana pressed her lips together. I could see a small form of hesitation in her eyes as she looked at Sam and quickly formulated her answer.
Ask your father.
I felt a burst of angry energy flash beside me at her answer, which drew my attention back to Sam. His body became wrapped in a dark green aura, and his eyes flashed gold once again.
What did you say?
Your father brought her here and placed a curse on her. She can't leave this world until she dies, or...
Another flash of energy. The aura around Sam pulsated, almost crackling like lightning around his form. Sam gritted his teeth, and I could tell rage was slowly taking over.
I'm gonna kill that old fuck!
Sam! I quickly placed my hand on his shoulder, knowing that he needed to calm down. We had a plan. He didn't need to be this angry right now. Sam looked over at me, calming down slightly at the sight of my worried face.